Motovation. I'm Lori Joy Kingwell.
And I'm Chrissy Van. We're two dreamers on two wheels inspired by our community.
And celebrating the voices we're just lucky enough to discover along the ride. So if not already, like, subscribe, follow along, do what you gotta do to not miss an episode.
Sad to sunshine. Every year that time comes. Motorcyclists, we have to winterize our bikes after a season of memories. Batteries are tendered and the cover is drawn. And for those that love to ride, it feels, well, sad. Conversely, there is joy in the air when it's time to hit the open road as the weather warms up and the days get longer and the summer approaches. Trips are mapped out and planned. There's an air of excitement around the kilometers that are yet to be accomplished. So today's episode is called Fairweather Ride. And just like motorcycles during the winter months, many people find they go inward. Gloomy weather can alter the mood, and some people even fall into the depths of depression with seasonal affective disorder. Meanwhile, during the summer months, energy revs up and the mood becomes elevated. On this episode, we're going to share how to capitalize on that boost and share why this summer is a season to take risks and to create efficient habits. This is your motivation.
When we think of summer, I honestly feel it's one of the most nostalgic times of year next to the Christmas holidays. There are songs that you hear from summers past that trigger memories of sweet days in the sunshine, memories with friends. I'm sure that you have ample amounts of childhood memories that bring you joy, and there's a life and there's a spark to all of it. And that is why we decided to tackle From Sad to Sunshine today, because it's the season that comes after the doom and gloom of the winter months, which, as you heard in the intro, we talk about going inward. I always think of the winter season as my little creative hive mind bundle where I'm very introspective and thinking of all these projects I want to accomplish and events I want to go to and people I want to visit. But then the weather warms up, and one common element that I think we can relate to when we think of these bright sunny days is that it always seems to fly by so quickly. It always seems like the time on the calendar just goes by at a rapid pace. And that's why I think there's good to build a little awareness over the fact that this is a season we should maximize. There's a lot of scientific things and physiological things that are quite literally happening in our bodies during these months that allow us to be boosted in mood. We have elevated levels of serotonin, which we know is that feel-good hormone that allows us to build better human connection, to be more productive in our days. But we're going to miss out if we aren't aware and we just allow things to zoom by without actively participating in what these months can grant us, because it's an excellent time of year to dig our heels in if there are projects that we want to work on, perhaps from that inward creative journey you took over the winter months. If you are reacquainting with your social life, we know that circumstances in the world have meant that we had not just a choice to be inward, but quite frankly, indoors, because for many months we were confined to our homes. This is a season of social risk-taking, inviting new faces, getting out to different events, exposing ourselves to different activities. It's the season of exploration. And I think it's just really important for us to hone down and plan a little bit so that we don't do what we can when we have habitual behaviors and just let it fly by and not maximize the moment.
There's like this electricity that takes place that everybody feels as that weather warms up. And you see, especially you think about, like you said, your own childhood. And then I think about even the children that I work with, and you just see it in them. They want to stay out later. They want to play longer. We ourselves, everyone's outside in the parks, on the patios, everyone's planning barbecues, the electricity just runs through everybody. And you talk about when you understand as well that there's even some science behind it, and the awareness around that gives you the push to take advantage of that. I remember so specifically, I think it was my grade 12 year, the summer. So school ends. So it would have been like this exact time, actually 20 years ago, crazily enough, it's my 20-year high school reunion coming up. And woo, woo. So like really and truly almost exactly 20 years ago, we finished this school year and we were so excited to be graduating, but there was also this awareness of like, we were only together for this last summer. And then all of our friends dispersed. And there was quite a big group of friends in our grade 12 year. And I remember every day after my last day of school for like the first week, we did some sort of adventure. We would just do, crazy things around town, or we'd go to the lake, or we'd go on some little adventure, or just drive our cars out to fields. Like we just were so aware of the limited time and that we had together, and the fact that we had summer and the electricity that goes around it. And I remember after that first week thinking, this was the best week of my life. This was the funnest week of my life. And I thought, why can't I keep this going? And what if I looked at it as like, I'll do some sort of adventure for the rest of this summer? Why couldn't I? I've done it this week alone. And I can't remember how long I kept it going, but quite a while into that summer. And it's something that's always stuck with me. And every time the summers come around, I've thought, and if you know me, my schedule's just like jammed in the summer. And it's just like one adventure after the other. And Chrissy, you're very much this way as well. You might even be more hardcore than me for sure, actually, in this. And you're always like, it's summer, I'm doing it all. And but you're right, it's so short-lived, and there's such a window, and you've got this electricity that's running through everybody, not just you and me, but everybody around us, and we can utilize that momentum. But there's a reason why, and you said it so perfectly, around some of our greatest memories. Every one of them mostly happens in the summertime. People get excited about it like they get excited about Christmas. It's this magical time, and optimizing it in every way that you can it gives you almost such a juice to go into the harder months of the winter, because you're still kind of flying high from all that juice that you soaked out of or not soaked, squashed out of squeezed.
I don't know why I said that so high pitch.
Squeezed. This is going to, folks, for listening, you can tell how tired my brain is, but I'm going off the electricity of summer here right now.
You want to take advantage of the fact that we have these long, energetic days. Now, when we get into the summer months, one of the things that you alluded to there, Lori, that we're both kind of guilty of is that you get pulled in a lot of directions. There are a ton of competing interests. There's so much on the agenda to do. So number one, you don't really want to cause a summer burnout. And this is why it's good to plan ahead to a degree, but also provide yourself space to literally just be. Take time to relax, take time to unplug. When we get into the season, one of the things I love the most is that I navigate into a lot of areas that are in the back country of British Columbia where quite literally there's no cell service. Those moments are good and necessary for the soul now more than ever, because I think a lot of people became very information addicted over the last while, because there's been, and rightfully so many things to be concerned about in the world. Now we're seeing this big shift as we head into the summer months where people are more financially conscientious because there's a lot of fears as we see inflation on the rise and challenges there. So literally taking the time to detox your life, number one, very important thing to do as we head into these months. And when you're taking those summer vacations, literally ensuring that they're exactly that, a summer vacation for you. But then simultaneously, as much as it's good to relax, I think it's really good to capitalize on the fact that if there are endeavors that you're looking to accomplish, this is actually a season where it's really smart to be productive, because you have so many elements happening within your body. The fact that the days are so long, the fact that you can get up earlier in the morning with the sunrise to actually start accomplishing those goals. Enter the season now and refresh your goals. We're coming out of those months where I think there's a little bit of complacency when we get to this time period of the year. New Year was already half a year ago, and we have done an episode before about having resolutions. And I think we're both of the mindset that a actual New Year's resolution wasn't really the best move at the beginning of the year because they generally drop off a couple of weeks later, but you more than likely set goals that you wanted to achieve within for this year being 2022. Now's a really good time to do an audit. What do I want to accomplish? What do I want to invite into my life? Because these are the months that you literally are going to have the most advantages to actually getting started. This is an excellent season to instill good habits and foundations, which again, I think from what we think of summer where, schedules go out the window and all of that, it's actually a really excellent season to build strong foundational habits. One, for example, if you are wanting to get out active or more active, I think Lori and I are really big proponents of that being a core pillar of our lives. Physical fitness, there are a million benefits that you could list on and on. Think of it. You've got extra hours in the morning, extra hours at night. You can do workouts outdoors. So it's really taking that goal audit and thinking, what do I want to accomplish? Because as you spoke to at the end there, Lori, you instill these foundations, and this is what's going to drive you when you get back into the mud, the proverbial mud that happens when we head into the fall and winter, where yes, it's an introspective season. The weather lends itself for that more time indoors and really spending time with self, but you are kind of trudging through mud because days are so short, you're feeling exhausted, and many people do suffer from depression or at the very least a little bit of a gloomy malaise just because it's a lot more difficult to get through the days when they are short, dark, and often miserable.
Yeah. And also that social component. We were so isolated, obviously, from COVID, but there's even that isolation that comes from the weather and wanting to stay in. And this gives you such an opportunity to go out in the community, in the parks, even just looking into any groups that are starting up outdoors, because there's still a level of safety and precaution that people are aware of. But groups are starting to gather again. It's starting to be the kind of thing where, things like our moto community, we're having a lot more gatherings. And so I'm completely sure that there's other areas of interest that are doing the same thing. And also in the summertime, everybody's more open. There's an openness of just you as a human being. You feel safer, you feel ready to come out, and there's a more opportunity for people to want to be vulnerable to meeting new people and getting out there. And so that's another component that has really struck a lot of people in the winter, is that isolation and feeling really cut off from other people or friends, groups of people. This is that opportunity to really put yourself out there and cultivate those relationships. So as well, when those winter months come in, there's a much more of that foundation. I remember even when we all really started to build our friendships, I think it was, now 3 years ago, maybe 4 years ago now. And those winter months come in and all of a sudden we're not having these riding meetups. And we were already saying, well, we could go play pool. Well, we could go do this. Well, we could go do that. And COVID hit, but we were so invested in still spending time with each other. We started doing all the park hangouts as much as we could, or any of those things to still get together, or go for, night walks, even if it was chilly. But that's because there was already that foundation that had been laid in the summer riding months. And so we were so much more willing to get out there when it was a bit trickier. So there's real opportunity, not only for starting, to meet new goals, fitness, socialization, meeting new people. It's an abundant time.
Definitely. I am so glad that you said that, because I literally was going to say even in adult life, it took one summer for it completely to change because of that social interaction of what was found within the motorcycle community. I have some of the most beautiful relationships that I have had the pleasure of encountering in my adult life, all because of taking that social risk. And when I say social risk, it's not that it's like, oh God, like if this doesn't go well, something bad will happen. Not that type of risk. But I think that when we are putting ourselves in new social situations mentally, we see a potential risk or loss leader on that. What if I'm not accepted? What if this what if I don't know what to say? All these anxiety thought processes that can enter our sphere when we put ourselves into that vulnerable situation of walking into a space where you don't necessarily know anyone at all, or maybe you just know one familiar face, or perhaps you're not very practiced with making conversation with people that aren't in your regular social sphere. But there is so much reward to be gained from that. And I get there's introverts, there are extroverts, there are people somewhat in between, but no matter who you are, everyone wants some semblance of community, and life is meant to be about community and togetherness. So this is really a time that you can go out and find those groups. And I thought it was interesting, just on the social note, I was spending time scrolling through TikTok, I swear in a productive fashion to a degree, but there was a post that a woman did based in Vancouver, which is obviously where we're podcasting from, who said, I've lived in Vancouver now for 3 years. Everyone said it's so difficult to make friends, and here I am. Looks like it was all true. Any suggestions, please let me know. And there was a lot of amazing supportive comments on her thread afterwards, but I literally wrote, and I was like, if you can find a hobby that you enjoy, lean into it and start going to events around that hobby, because that's exactly what happened with motorcycling for us, and, you know, riding with the Litas Vancouver, in that you're showing up to a space and yeah, you may not feel 100% comfortable, even though I will say friendliest group, most welcoming group I've had the privilege of being a part of. But you instantly have something that you're bonded and connected on that you can talk about. And then it literally starts to level up from there once you start to uncover the depths and layers and other individuals that you click with. So as much as we view it as a social risk, the reward, risk and rewards, life is all about risk and rewards. There is such an incredible reward that can be gained. And again, this is the season to do it, especially after everything we have been through, now more than ever. And especially as we navigate the aftermath, we need people in our corner. And I think that we need to experience all these gatherings or things that you go to in a new light. We have to have a new appreciation around that, because now we are living from a perspective that we know what life is like when that was taken away. And I think that's a valuable lesson to keep cognizant of. Not that you should harp on, oh my gosh, we went through this wildly difficult time, but keep the lessons from that, because we now have this fresh opportunity. And this is kind of the first summer. And it's not that I hate saying the word COVID, because I'm like, gosh, aren't we all exhausted of it? But it's kind of the first summer that this isn't the heavy topic in our sphere in a long time. But it's like, you have to appreciate what's in front of you. There is a beautiful opportunity there that is there to be seized. And now is the time to do it.
Even just doing the small little things, even if this feels like too much of a leap or too much of a stretch to think of a hobby or trying something new or working with momentum or putting yourself out to people, utilize the summer straight up for the vitamin D. Go out and just let the sun shine on your face. Like, I know even sometimes when I'm working at home and there'll be like a spot of sunshine coming in the window specifically, I'll go make sure that I sit facing it and I just close my eyes for a little bit and open my eyes, because I just found out through a neuroscientist that I was listening to on a podcast in and around that, not obviously looking directly at the sun, but gazing in the like general direction-ish, up to, oh Lord have mercy, I think it was like 2 minutes a day. And it does incredible things for your brain activity and so forth. And because it's quite literally food. And we see that of, you know, because when we're starved of it, we have seasonal depression. But just allowing these really appreciative moments, it sounds so simple, but I can't tell you how wonderful it feels when you're just purposefully fully aware of the sunshine on your face or on your body, or just taking in that warmth and that feeling. all this, it's just like a little warm hug from Mother Nature, I swear. But start there if you need to, but have this, just know that it's here to feed you. And it doesn't necessarily mean that, winter is the dark horse. This is the like, but we can't steer away from the fact that we as human beings really come to full life during the summer months. Even I know living in the Caribbean for 5 years, it drastically changed my mental health. I was, able to, I didn't have quite the depression, near even close, actually, comparable to when I lived in Canada and had the those dark winters. Now I've been able to not have depression in the same way either, but that took a lot more inner work. I couldn't just rely on like sunshine and beaches like I did over there. But what you do realize that was so apparent growing up and living where there was wintertime and cold and dark was you realized so heavily how short our summers were. It was quite jarring. And now I'm back to accustomed to being like, oh, it can feel short and long. But when you were living where it's sunshine and summer all year round, and you watch all these Canadians come out and be like, it's summer, whoa, on all their social media pages. And you're like, oh my gosh, it's like they got let out of jail. And
Totally.
and then they're like, boom, they're pictures of like first snowfall. And you're just like,
Yeah.
oh my gosh. You just realize what an absolute blink it is. And because of that, like I said, I'm still, because that wears off after a while, that like extreme contrast and knowing and appreciating the like how precious these few months are that we have. But truly it's a flash in the pan. And so why not have that awareness first and foremost? Take little baby steps and then dive in where you can, and not just like Chrissy said, overloading and going to extremes where your agenda is just so packed that you end up burning out. But you make the most of it and plan some cool shit and go on adventures and try new things and meet new people. And then also plug in there the thing where you're like, I just breathe and I go out to the middle of nowhere and I have no noise and I have nobody, aside from a couple, chill friends, if that, and you just have peace and quiet. And you just make the absolute most of that, because you can't be doing that in January, or you can, but that's an extreme human that does that. I know a couple of them, and it's badass. I'm not one of them. I wear a balaclava in the winter, in the summer on my bike. I am not the one that goes camping.
Yeah, you do.
Winter.
Full heated jacket now.
Full heated jacket, just on the other day when it was 20 out.
Yeah, I brought up the nostalgia at the beginning, and I think that's probably the one feeling that I want you to remind yourself of, because those nostalgic moments we most likely turn to are from the years past, from youth, and that feeling and electricity that Lori spoke to as well. And this is why we did this episode now as your little nudge and reminder of why can't I create for myself this season something future me will look back on with a beautiful essence of nostalgia and that same feeling. And we can do that. It's right in front of us. But it is one of those things that I find as adults, we're really guilty about the forgetting that the present is now. The present is now. Now is the time for the living. And now is the time for making the beautiful memories. And the opportunity is now so wide open, more than it has been in a couple of years. But why can't this be the moment that you make the decision to take the pauses, feel the sunshine just like you did when you were a kid and it's the first hot day you're let out at recess? We all know what that feels like, but for some reason we just get so caught up in our heads. And we've all dealt with a lot that it's so easy to forget to take advantage of the beauty of the presence and the beauty of being present, because the present time is going to happen whether you like it or not, but there's no advantage if you're not present for the present.
Yeah. Well, on that note, should we do our motivation?
Motivation.
Maintenance. Yeah.
I know Chelsea, who's been joining us on our latest off-roads, just cringed in her car. She's a vocalist, and I was definitely off key.
I don't know. I'm pretty sure she's fist bumping.
Yeah. Remix.
Okay. Christy, what's yours, girl?
So mine is on the refresh your goal setting. I think that right now is an excellent time to do an audit and just look at things that you're hoping to invite in your life. What do you want to accomplish? And setting really realistic goals from this summer month period of time that you can do. So actionable goals are always the ones that are more attainable, measurable goals as well. So you have a timeline through end of August, and maybe just pick 3 little goal refresh, but actually open up a journal and write them down. And then that way it's something you can visit in the fall season. So once we hit September, and then below those goals that you've written and hopefully accomplished at that point, since they were measurable, actionable goals, you can go back then in the fall season and figure out how those then will integrate to help fuel you as you travel into the months where there's less soul food from the sunshine.
Okay. I like it. I like that.
Soul food.
Soul food. All right. Mine is adventure. You pick every single week this summer, and you can even make a list and decide which ones you want to do as you go. But do some sort of new little adventure somewhere, like go to a park you haven't gone to, walk a little area in your community or your city that you've never walked before. Go do something from your childhood in your community and redo it. Like go to the park you used to go to as a kid, go get an ice cream cone and go eat it where you would as a kid. Go to the swings or the slides or something that you used to do as a kid, just to even like bump up the nostalgia feeling. But plan a little adventure at least once a week that isn't just the straight up going to the lake or obviously camping. All those things are great adventures, but like just a little adventure during your week that isn't a big adventure. It's just something little to just add a little pizzazz of summertime into your week. Maybe even do it during the week, because the weekends are always a given of doing something fun. So maybe just even during the week, plan it out, pick as you go, put a little bit more adventure in your day to day.
I love that one because personally, I have spoken on the podcast before. I have struggled with burnout on and off over the last little while, particularly obviously ramped up through COVID. And I've never been a weekend warrior. I do a lot on the weekends, but I've never lived for the weekends. And it's really against my personal values to be like that.
Right.
And so I conscientiously every single day, even if it's something little, and I know this might sound really morbid to some people, but I'm like, if I was turning the leaf and this was the final day I was granted, is there something in that day that sparked joy and was something for me that like added that little spark of adventure? And I'm not talking about grandiose things, but I literally every single day, it's the only times I ever feel disappointed in myself, which I shouldn't. There's permission to like not have a day where it's come together, but I feel when I reflect almost like, damn it. Like I missed one, and why? Because I have this gift of the now. So
yes, you do.
Excellent recommendation. Really do. So, you got to do those things.
If you need some ideas, call Christy. She'll give you some ideas. You just scoot there. You get on your scoot and you scoot there.
Get on your scooter.
Get on your scooter.
With a backpack chair. What is your quote today?
Okay. Guts to find it. All right. This is William Carlos Williams. Oh, that's a neat name. As I said.
Right? Hey, what's your last name? His last name's Williams. What should we call him? William.
William.
I think I heard that somewhere.
Unbelievable. As soon as I read it, I was like, oh, huh. All right. Well, his quote is, "In summer, the song sings itself."
It sure does.
Sure.
It sure does.
God dang does.
So mine is by Harper Lee. And I kind of love this because I know people have mixed feelings about nostalgia, but I think this quote will help you understand that feeling that I'm talking about. Summer was our best season. It was sleeping on the back screen porch in cots or trying to sleep in the treehouse. Summer was everything good to eat. It was 1,000 colors in a parched landscape. Right?
Oh, that made me so nostalgic.
I know, it's so beautiful. But I'm like, go grab that for yourself. Literally, this is your nudge of the universe from the Motovation.
Yeah, folks, that is your motivation.
You've just listened to the Motovation Podcast with your host, Chrissy Van, and me, Lori Joy Kingwell.
Thanks for joining us along the ride. We've got new episodes dropping every Monday, and we're all about community. So follow us on Instagram at Motovation Podcast and visit our website at themotovation.com.
And in the meantime, tanks full and full throttle.